RTV6 Sports, live at Palomino Restaurant downtown. This is Horseplay.
Deck the halls? Well, guess what? They have here at Palomino our weekly host for Horseplay. Holiday parties rolling into big crowd on hand here inside Palomino. Great host if you're thinking about a holiday party, by the way. You got a couple weeks left. With Jim Sorgi, I'm Dave Furst. Again, welcome to Week 12. Well, 14, I'm sorry. Let's start this over. Welcome to Week 14 of Horseplay, everybody, as the Colts got it done on the road yesterday. How was the plane ride back? I've always wanted to do this. After a win on the road, you got to spend an hour, maybe two, depending on where you play, on a plane ride with a bunch of guys that are happy, joyous, what have you.
Well, the plane
or are they just worn out and like, yeah, okay, whatever it is.
The plane rides home when I played were a little different than my plane ride now. You know? I'm sitting in a different section of the plane.
So where do you sit now?
Reserved.
Where do you sit now?
Well, we take a plane where you have the first class area, and that's the coaching staff,
right?
GM, all the, big
front office types and what? Yeah.
And then the middle of the plane, business class, I guess you would call it, is equipment guys, trainers, doctors, production staff. Those,
right.
Me, my group is there
okay.
now, and then the players.
You, Bob Lamey, all the radio crew, and the players are in the back.
And the players are in the back. You can hear them hooting and hollering back there a little bit.
Do you?
No, for sure. I think they were a little bit tired. It wasn't so much hooting and hollering. The longer the plane ride back, the more hooting and hollering becomes. I think they get a little more raucous back there. But really, it was a quick trip back. It only took us like 45 minutes to get back. And, it was a nice day in Cleveland, but it was still cold. And I'm sure, I think a lot of people were worn out basically just from the cold and playing.
I was listening to the broadcast, by the way. Jim's on the radio broadcast with the great, the legendary Bob Lamey. Was the heat off up in the press box or something? Because he kept complaining about the fact he was cold. There was no heat or something like that.
Well,
no?
Because we're radio, we need crowd noise.
You got to open up the window.
So our windows are open. We're out in the elements, baby. We're bundled up, and there's heat in our booth, but it never is focused on us up front.
Right.
So we get a little chilly. I spent 3/4 of the game standing up and calling the game just because I needed to move around to get a little blood flow going. So.
Last thing, what's the spread like on a plane ride back?
Well,
is it pretty good, or is it chips and sandwiches or something?
Well, you pretty much can have whatever you want. They're bringing baskets of candies and stuff around.
Right.
They're bringing ice creams and cookies. But
it's not like lobster or is it? I don't know.
I think the three choices yesterday were lasagna, salmon, and some sort of chicken.
Yeah, that's not bad.
No, and I went with the salmon. Had a little apple pie with it, a little salad, a little shrimp cocktail. Enjoy it.
It's like, what's the old line from Airplane, the movie Airplane? Help me out here, someone.
I'm at a loss.
You know what? What? You never saw the movie Airplane?
I don't think I have.
You haven't seen the movie Airplane?
Is it Steve Martin?
No, it's...
Best Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I'm thinking.
Yes, Leslie Nielsen's in it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is actually in it. You haven't seen the movie Airplane. Robert Hayes, the great Robert Hayes.
I got to go back and watch it. And I'll consider myself a movie guy, and I have never seen Airplane.
You've never seen the movie Airplane?
No.
We're going to rectify this. I now know what I'm getting Jim for Christmas.
Are we going to have to Google?
Well, he's saying there's a... Well, you have to see the movie now, but there's a moment there where you order your this is back when you had dinner on regular flights, and so it was either the chicken or the fish. And anyway, I'm butchering them. And did you have the chicken or the fish? No, I had the lasagna. So anyway, real quickly before we set everything up, let's take a look at the final score. 25. This is your everyday normal 25-24 win. In Cleveland, as the Colts got it done in that game-winning drive, which started, by the way, with a sack. And I don't know if you saw the video or you could see it up in the press box. On that sack at the 6-yard line, I thought Luck was actually thinking about flipping it over to tossing it to Boom Herron to see what he could do. And we've talked about it ad nauseum. Here's a guy that just has a hard time kind of giving up on any play.
I agree. It forced him into a mistake early in yesterday's ball game. Right around the goal line. He's going down. He's looking. He threes the ball.
And Sorgi's microphone, boys.
Fumbles in the end zone. And then obviously they get 7 points off the turnover.
Sorgi's mic doesn't sound like it's on. What's going on?
Our defense did a really good job all day of stopping them, our offense was giving them points.
Right. Boom Heron, 71 yards, that fourth down conversion, which I'm sure we're going to get to. But I mean, that was a thing of beauty, wasn't it?
I felt like that whole drive, we had some big plays that were converted. I mean, Dante Moncrief
diving catch,
down, that was huge. I mean, especially throughout the game, we were dropping so many passes. I mean, we had so many drops in that game. Andrew was missing on some throws he normally hits on. We were dropping passes, and it just wasn't clean until that last drive. We started making plays. I thought that, I can't remember if it was a third or fourth down play to Colby later in that drive.
Yeah, that was another third down play. Yeah,
it was huge, and then to be able to get that fourth down. So there was really 3 or 4 plays in that drive that kept that drive going. But that fourth down with Boom, I mean, he looks stopped.
Right.
And they're pushing our offensive line back. He squirts to the outside. He keeps pushing, and he's able to dive forward for a first down.
I thought on that play he was going to kick it to the outside just to see what he could do, and all of a sudden he hits this is a video game reference, hits the X button, spins inside like a defensive end, and is able to pick up the half yard. So.
But it was huge just because of the fact that it gives you a first down. It gives you 4 more chances, and we had a timeout in our pocket. Bob thought we were going to throw the ball. I was like, we could throw the ball, but then it's one play. You have to be perfect on one play in order to win this game. If you're not, you lose the game. I thought they were going to run it. They did run it. They got the first down. Then it gave them 4 plays to really find a way to win that game. And from the one to stop us on 4 plays was going to be tough.
And it's interesting. I thought maybe in that situation, if you take a step back, you might want Trent in that position. You don't think of a big running back being Boom Heron in that situation. But, I mean, Boom can bring it, though. So
no,
I
just thought that I think Boom was perfect for that situation.
You
I mean, to keep his legs going. I mean, this guy does not stop. There was a couple plays in that game where he gets hit and spins off a tackler and then gets hit again and gets hit falling forward and gains 2 yards. So he gets hit after a gain of 2 and gets 5 yards on the carry. And I think that's what you needed there because you were going to have to block more guys than you had blockers for. So obviously he was going to have to run over somebody or make somebody miss, and he did just that. He got hit, he spun, and he was able to keep his forward momentum going to fall forward for that first down.
That wasn't even second effort. That might have been the third effort.
I thought he had it on third down. I mean, you can tell me better. I mean, from my view,
well, that's a great point. The TV replay, the TV angle that was needed to make that call wasn't there.
Okay.
Because all the TVs had moved down, TV cameras had moved down to the goal line.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Anticipating that there might be a call at the goal line. What they really needed is to have one there at the first down marker. You can really tell.
I think that should be a standard during the game.
That's a great point.
A ball on wherever the ball is, just to get that kind of angle for the referees.
Right.
It was going to be a tough call to reverse anyway or move forward or back or whatever.
Right.
And we got some good calls from the refs yesterday. I mean, we got a pass interference call on that last drive that ticky-tack in my point of view, but definitely helped us move the ball down the field.
Well,
30-yard penalty.
You could have had another one, I thought, when T.Y. Didn't catch that ball in the end zone. I thought the defender was who was on him at that point? I forget now. But I thought there was a PI call that could have been called there in the end zone, which wasn't called. But anyway, bottom line, Colts got it done, 25-24. Yeah. Bottom line right now, our Brad Brown is standing by. You never know where Brad's going to be, especially when he's on vacation. And luckily, he has decided to join us. He's where?
It's dark.
It's dark where he is. Hi, Brad Brown joining us. Where are you, Brad?
Well, here's the deal. I'm in Florida. We're going to have a little dramatic reveal with our location today.
We're having a hard time hearing him. Oh,
no.
Am
I still here? Oh, come on now. Still here?
Hello? I hear you now. Hi, buddy.
Hi. There. Hi, how's it going? All right. We've done Las Vegas. You were in New Jersey for the Monday night game. Now,
lovely Hoboken.
I'm doing a dramatic reveal on this one. I'm in Florida. I'll give you that.
Okay.
We're on a mission today. And look at this. Check this thing out.
Whoa.
Wow.
Look
at Kennedy Space Center today. Look at that. Shuttle Atlantis is on display here. That's the real deal, man.
How about that? This isn't like some display in downtown Indianapolis or in Greenfield or something, right? That's the real thing, huh?
I'm standing here staring at this right now. It's about a couple 100 feet long. It's about half the size of a jumbo jet, but you could park a few city buses in the thing. But yeah, there it is, the real deal. They parked Atlantis here, and it's on this brand new display at the Kennedy Space Center. I think I'm the only one here that's not on a field trip today. So you see, I'll show you some of the kids that have come out here.
They're the kiddos.
Well, I'm going to sound like a whiny school kid here, but why can't we switch places with Brad? I mean,
wow. You want to go on vacation with Brad?
Can we take Palominos with us and go to Vegas and go to Florida and stuff?
They don't have the crab artichoke dip down in
You're
Cape,
right.
You know,
That's a good point.
Saying, so.
That's a good point.
Yeah, there's lots of chicken fingers and ice cream down here at the Space Center. So if you're into that, that might be my lunch today. I'll trade you lunch, and you guys trade me locations. Can we do that?
That's pretty cool. I haven't been down there since I was a wee little boy. So it's so much has changed in the space program in the last 30 years. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, look, I got a satellite behind me here. This whole thing's really neat, though. They just opened up this Atlantis display last summer. They've got Atlantis here. They've got the other 3 shuttles that are on display around the country.
Hang on, you got your thumb over the camera. Hang on.
I'm here. Hang on. I apologize. My lighting's odd in here at this point. So anyway, there's a cool look at that. I thought that would be something to show you. It's a dreary day down here, so it's not really an outdoor kind of day to do that. So good day to be inside while it's sprinkling outside and get a look at some of this. So I'm going to geek out like an old space kid here this afternoon and take a look at this thing.
That's pretty cool. The Skype connection, by the way, is just bad enough where you could be doing this from space, and you really. I know. You couldn't.
I'll float. How's this? Here, we'll do it like this.
Oh yeah,
there we go. Like this. There. How's that?
That's pretty cool.
Very nice. There you go. Start eating Jell-O. That'd be good. Hey,
there you go.
Did you watch the game at all down there? What was showing on the local CBS or I guess Fox station down there?
Both of them. I had the Dolphins were on CBS and the Bucs game was on Fox. So I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Bob Lamey and Jim Sorgi from start to finish.
Nice.
And Sorge, I got to tell you guys, there is nothing more entertaining in the NFL than these two guys throughout the course of the game. Because Bob Lamey, it is an emotional roller coaster unlike anything you could ever do on game day with Lamey on this. And Sorge, that you're along for the ride on that is it's like Sorge's playing the straight man in a bit for 3.5 hours on this.
I just try to get a word in edgewise. I just try to go real fast whenever Bob pauses, and then hopefully I get my point across.
It'd be like listening to one of those telenovelas that's on the Hispanic on Univision, on Telemundo. Twists and turns, and it's all over the place. It was great, and the finish there was just spectacular.
The great thing about Mr. Lamey is he wears his emotions on his sleeve.
Oh, he's a homer.
And as a Colts employee, but if something's going bad, he's not afraid to tell you.
Well, I think that's why I enjoy doing the games with him so much. I mean, this is a man that could literally do it on his own. I mean, he could probably do play-by-play and color commentating all on his own. But I enjoy doing the game because we can actually be fans on the radio. We can root for the team.
Right.
Whenever you do the game for
Westwood
a network,
One or something like that,
or ESPN or something like that, you got to be so neutral between both teams. But we get to actually, because we're Colts employees, be fans of the team and actually root and get disappointed and excited, and some of us more than others. My counterpart, he's all yay or no,
Right.
But together we do a pretty good job, and it makes it fun and exciting because he does get so excited, and he does such a good job that it makes my job easier, actually.
Absolutely. Hey, so you're kind of close to Jacksonville, the site of that game yesterday played by the Houston Texans and the Jags, and actually Jacksonville was up at halftime in that game yesterday, which is
toying with our emotions.
Toying with somebody's emotions anyway. Because if the Colts would have, they did win obviously, but if Houston would have lost that game, then you're looking at clinching the AFC South Championship yesterday.
Yeah, and I think the other connection, it was funny being here at the Space Center. Houston, we have a problem kind of came into my mind thinking about that with the Texans and kind of looking at what they're trying to do at this point. Now, the Colts, it's one of those things, it wasn't a must-win necessarily, but you didn't want to be in a one-game up with the game coming up on Sunday and then 2 to go after that for the division to try and sort this out. So to be able to pull out a win like that with Houston, you got the tiebreaker already and all that. You feel pretty good about your position. More than anything, I think, Sorge, you guys talked about this at the end of the radio broadcast yesterday, to just win an ugly game if you needed to, more than anything. To just win one like that, because a team needs to do that every now and then if they want to have some long-term success.
Well, you're exactly right. I was thinking about it on the way here, kind of, there's 3 types of teams right now. There's a team that's kind of hitting all cylinders and going. I mean, they're firing, they're ready.
New England.
Playoffs can't get here soon enough.
Denver, probably.
Packers,
Packers,
those kind of teams. Playoffs can't get here soon enough for those kind of teams. And then there's a team kind of like us where you either need a loss or a win like that to where you probably should have lost to kind of make yourself rethink, listen, we got a lot of work to do still.
Right.
And we still have 3 weeks to do that before we get into the playoffs, but we have work to do to get into the playoffs. I mean, you got a Houston team coming in who's 2 games behind right now, but we got Houston and then Dallas. I mean, there's nothing to say that we can't lose the next 2 games, and then the last game really means something. So I think that better than losing and learning that lesson was an ugly win by a point in Cleveland to learn that lesson, and just hopefully the guys take it that way to the point where they come back in this week and know, listen, we got to pick some things up. We got to stop doing some things, and it's mostly on the offensive side of the ball because I thought our defense played really well, and I think they'll get that message, get that lesson, because not only do you want to be playing on full speed, steam ahead, all cylinders right now, you want to have maybe a loss like this or a close win to kind of get you back on the right track.
Let's show you, by the way, the AFC standings right now, and Brad, chime in on this. Again, there's just 3 games left for everybody in the NFL. The Colts, they didn't clinch the AFC South yesterday. I think they may have clinched the AFC North, though, because they win 3 of the 4 games this year. But, Sorge makes a great point. This thing is tight. As things stand right now, you're looking at the Colts being the 3 seed.
Right, and I think above all else, that win yesterday, because you're still only a game behind the Patriots and the Broncos, there's still an outside shot of getting a bye out of this thing. You need one of those teams to lose a game somewhere to get that, but you still keep yourself in the opportunity to move up to that 2 line. Not going to get the 1 line, because I think the Patriots are going to be stuck with that. But if for the Broncos bobble here in the last 3 weeks, you've got an opportunity to steal a spot maybe and to steal a bye out of this thing.
Well, and you know what's funny about that? Those 2 squeaked out wins yesterday, I thought. I mean, San Diego looked like they had that game in hand, 14-3, and then they end up not scoring the rest of the game. And then Denver, Payton throws 2 picks. They run for 3 touchdowns. He doesn't even throw a touchdown, and they squeak out a win 24-17 because Buffalo turned the ball over so many times. And I felt like the Broncos have squeaked out wins the last couple weeks.
Right.
And obviously the Patriots lost last week and squeaked out a win this week. But we're so close to being right there. I mean, if one of these 2 teams can take a bad loss, heading into the last 3 weeks of the season, there's things that could happen to kind of bump us up. And I still think if we win our last 3 games, win outright, and finish the season at 12-4, that we'll get one of the top 2 seeds. But these guys are making liars out of me, because I would have thought that the Broncos would have lost one of their last couple weeks. I thought they were either going to lose to Kansas City or Buffalo or Miami.
Right.
And they end up squeaking out wins against all 3.
They were on the ropes, really, for all 3.
Yeah.
Last thing, Brad, before we cut you loose, what's on tap for the rest of the vacation down there in Florida?
I'm going to make my way down to Ybor City in Tampa here in the next
Nice.
couple of days. I'll have gifts for you upon arrival and upon return with that.
Ooh, nice. Well, yeah.
On that one.
Yeah.
Sorge, maybe
Yeah.
for you too. Put in some
maybe.
Ybor City requests. You know what you're after there. And hoping to find some sunshine and a day at the beach here.
There you
Maybe.
go.
We'll see.
Wait, now where are you now? Are you inside the space shuttle? Where are you?
Yeah, look at this. They got a mock-up of the thing in here. Look at this. You can come in
Look
here
at
and sit down and
this.
fly this. Check it out. Look at this. Atlantis. Look at that. Got all the triggers here. Okay. Check that thing out. That's cool. Yeah, this is going to be a fun little afternoon here.
You're like
Right there.
you're like
What a
the
nice job.
Andrew Luck of the space program right now. You have all the controls at your fingertips.
I know. That's it. I think if they put me in the pilot seat, I'm going to try and fly this thing out of here. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
Very cool. Nicely done. Brad Brown down at Cape Canaveral in Florida. Enjoy your vacation. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Later, bro.
I mean, I like Palomino. It's much warmer there in Florida.
It
though.
is warmer
So,
there, but it's actually nice outside today. It's a little warmer outside today.
this is true. Again, we're coming to you live. We're at Palomino Restaurant downtown. Week 14 of horseplay. Colts won yesterday, 25-24. Let's go inside the numbers. Tale of 2 halves, really,
yeah, no doubt.
in many ways. In fact, look at the numbers in the second half. Third down conversions way up, 4-8 Cleveland. I mean, offensively, I'm surprised they didn't pull Brian Hoyer.
Well, I think they
yesterday.
didn't because it was a close game. They were winning.
Yeah.
You're winning, and it's a close game, and you got the veteran out there that you think is going to make a play, make a throw. He missed some wide open guys down the
Overthrew
field.
a bunch of
Josh
guys.
Gordon, Andrew Hawkins. I did think Greg Tolley did a really good job on Josh Gordon. He followed him all over the field with Vontae out of the game, something the Colts don't normally do, and he did a fantastic job across the board. Defensively, you can't say enough about it. So.
Second half yards as well. Cleveland held to just 61 in the second half. Reggie Wayne, by the way, ties the team record for games, 208 wins with 141, tying both with Peyton Manning, so he'll likely eclipse that. Obviously, the games on Sunday, wins perhaps on Sunday or the next couple of weeks.
Right.
We'll see how it all plays out. But I think, and think about this, the mistakes and the issues that Luck had in the first half may have, in turn, kept Hoyer in the game as well. Because, look, if you're up by a couple of touchdowns in this game, you're probably watching Johnny Football, Johnny Clipboard in there in the second half.
There's no doubt. There is absolutely no doubt. I mean, there's an argument for why you didn't start him in that game. There's an argument for why you didn't put him in at some point during that game. We had just said on the pregame show yesterday, are we going to see Johnny Football? And I said, there's got to be factors that factor into it. I mean, the Colts either got to be beating them like a drum,
right,
to where
you got to make a change.
You got to make a change, or Brian Hoyer gets hurt. That's the only two ways that I saw that game going, where Johnny Manziel comes in the game. Even if Hoyer's playing bad, because if it's a tight game, if it's a close game, you count on him making a play at some point, which he's done. I mean, you go back a couple weeks ago, they played Atlanta. He had a horrible game, but then the last drive, he comes out and his lights out, and they kick a field goal to win. So I still think that you were counting on him to make a play at some point to put that game away or to get him back in the ball game. And with such a tight ball game and pretty much because of the Colts, it was a tight ball game. It really forced Mike Penn's hand in staying with Brian Hoyer.
He had no choice, I guess, at that point, although, he's still going to hear it from the Browns media, Cleveland media, about the fans. I think they all want to see Johnny Manziel in there.
Well, it'll be interesting where they go now.
Right.
They're sitting at 7-6. Two teams sitting at 8-5. One team sitting at 8-4-1. So, and they got the Bengals next week. I think they come to Cleveland. They got a couple division games left, but to eclipse one of those teams above them doesn't look like it's going to happen. So if there was a time to make a change, if not this week, I do think after this week they'll be eliminated from the playoffs, and then you'll see Johnny Manziel.
Do you see Hoyer with the Browns next year?
I do not see Hoyer with the Browns.
Yeah,
I just think it's just not a good situation for the team, for him.
Right.
He's always looking over his shoulder at the guy behind him. The team's always going to get the questions, who's your guy? Mm-hmm. As soon as he makes a bad throw, every bad play he had yesterday, the crowd's booing.
Right.
Every third down they didn't convert, they're booing, they're wanting the other guy. So I think they part ways. I think he goes somewhere where he feels wanted, appreciated, because that's important for his confidence.
Sure.
And I think the team moves on to see what they got in their future, because that's what Johnny Manziel is.
It's not unlike the situation in D.C. right now with RG3.
I agree.
I don't think RG3 is back with the Redskins next year at all. I guess there's a chance, but
there is a chance. I just don't, you don't have
Colt McCoy didn't help himself out yesterday.
Well, Colt McCoy has had his chances in the NFL to jump up and start for a team. He was an early round draft choice for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, he had his shot. He didn't produce. So now that everybody's looking at him as a backup and not being a guy that could kind of jump in there, take the reins, and lead a team. So, and you don't have anybody waiting in the wings. Mm-hmm. Kirk Cousins showing he couldn't do it. RG3 showing he couldn't do it. So do you start over again, or do you stick with RG3, work on his game, work on his fundamentals, play him toward the ends of the year? You get your draft picks finally back from the trade to get RG3.
Right.
So maybe you can get some guys, you got some cap room, maybe you can get some guys and build a team around him. But he definitely needs to work on his game, work on his fundamentals, and get better.
It's amazing when you sit, we all sit in Indianapolis and we criticize Luck, we criticize Manning, but you look at the bigger picture, and most of these teams in the NFL have quarterback issues, like it or not. I mean,
there's only a handful of teams that don't have a quarterback issue.
Well, there's probably maybe 8, 9 teams out there that are fine. They love their quarterback. There's no way they're going to change it. I mean, you look at Chicago with Jay Cutler. They just gave him a new contract. They're ready to jettison this guy out of town.
Colin Kaepernick.
Who, by the way, was in the Super Bowl just not too long ago.
He's been in 3 straight NFC Championship games, and they're ready to axe him, the head coach. I mean, they got problems down there, but there's just a few. I mean, Eli Manning in New York, a guy that's won 2 Super Bowls. I mean, he's talking about, is his time done? I mean, there's only a few guys that are going to call their shots, and it's your Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees down in New Orleans. Everybody thought his job was safe, and it probably is safe. But
Right.
you can't have a season like that and not have some kind of quarterback talk.
Right.
It's the guy that can do it consistently every year, get your team to the playoffs, get you your 11, 12, 10, 11, 12 wins, and keep showing progress that's safe, or have done it for such a long time that you're not removing that guy until he wants to be removed. And there's very few teams that have that in the NFL.
Let's take a look at Andrew's stats, by the way, from yesterday. Monday afternoon quarterbacking, if you will. And Andrew's stats go like this: 24, 53, 294 yards, a couple of touchdowns, a couple of picks, 3 sacks, rushing TD. But he did have his 12th career fourth quarter comeback, first of this season. 31st win ties him for 5th all time for those in the first 3 seasons of their young careers, tying guys by the name of Matt Ryan, Dan Marino. They lead the way, by the way, with 33. So he'll likely eclipse that. A couple wins here, or at least tie it this season if they can win out during the regular season. But I thought the real story for Luck, when you talk about protection that he had, the job that A.Q. Shipley did coming in, the job that Khaled Holmes did coming in for not Thornton, it was Jonathan Harrison who went. I mean, the line did a heck of a job under some really intense situations.
No, we only had 7 guys active on the offensive line, and your center goes down, A.Q. Shipley comes in, your right guard, and Joe Rice goes down, who's filling in for Hugh Thornton, he's out with an ankle, so then Khalid Holmes comes in, and I thought the protection got better. Now, I did think it was in large part to what the Browns were doing defensively. I thought they brought a lot of pressure in the first half. They added a guy. They added 2 in the first half, and they played a lot
of it was coming up in the A gaps, if you will, right? Football term, by the way, in the A up the middle, though, right?
Well, they did it really. We started the game in our 2 tight end sets, and they went to their nickel package against our 2 tight end sets, treating Kobe Fleener like a wide receiver rather than a tight end.
Right.
You should be able to run the ball against those looks. We struggled a little bit. They were kind of shifting their defense to that side, so we couldn't run to that side, but they were bringing pressure, adding a 5th, adding a 6th guy. And then in the second half, they started just bringing 4 guys, their front 4, and playing coverage in the back end. And it was surprising to me. They had so much success in the first half doing what they were doing, and they completely flipped their game plan. And another thing, Joe Hayden, one of the best corners in the league. If you ask him, he's the best. He found T.Y. Hill.
He is a stud, though, man. I was impressed by Hayden
He's
yesterday.
really good, no doubt. But he fouls T.Y. Hill all over the field in the first half. Everywhere T.Y. Hill was, Joe Hayden lined up on him. In the second half, they mixed it up a little bit. He was on him someplace he was on Dante, someplace he was on Reggie. And I feel like they went just totally against the game plan they had in the first half, and it kind of hurt them a little bit.
Yeah, a couple of times I saw Hayden on Reggie, and I'm thinking that's probably not what you want your best corner. I mean, Reggie, apparently, well, let's talk about the fact that it's coming out now. I guess he has a torn tricep in his left arm. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much that's affecting his play right now, but Reggie clearly is not.
He's not
healthy
Reggie right now.
Yeah.
No, he looks like a banged up knee, an elbow, the torn tricep or whatever.
Right.
It's just he's playing through a lot.
But he still demands attention.
He does
from the corners,
and he's still going to make plays every once in a while. He did have his drops yesterday. I don't see that being an every week sort of thing. I saw him come out in warm-ups. He jogged around a little bit and went right back in. So you can kind of tell that he wasn't himself. Himself
from the get-go
yesterday.
Then. Yeah. David Nuno is one of the sports reporters at KTRK, the ABC television station down in Houston. They do a great job covering the Houston Texans. And that leads us to this Sunday's game, 1 o'clock at Lucas Oil Stadium, as once again it's going to come down to the Colts and Texans. Texans get it done on Sunday. All of a sudden, this is a real horse race.
Gets tight,
no pun intended, heading down the stretch. But anyway, David, welcome to the program. How about the Houston Texans right now? It's all about winning for the first time in Indianapolis this coming Sunday, right?
Yeah, it's all about that. I mean, if they have any pipe dream of making the playoffs, they have to win there. That's basically, I don't want to say they have to win out, but they basically have to win out. I mean, they've got to have a 10-win season, and I think it's going to be ridiculously hard to do, not only for the wild card, the AFC South looks like an impossibility. But, yeah, I think what we've found out, what we've learned, is that the Texans now are going to be real players, I think, in Indianapolis for the next few years. You know, they had that little run with Gary Kubiak as their head coach that you would think, all right, maybe this is the time. There's something different about Bill O'Brien when it comes to an X's and O's that I'm confident that at some point that streak of never winning in Indianapolis will come to an end. Just not sure it's time yet.
Well, I thought it was interesting after those guys beat Jacksonville, Bill O'Brien in the locker room after the game, and this is something that the Houston Texans posted on their social media and whatnot. I mean, he's out there saying, hey, look, this is a huge week. We've never won in Indianapolis. This is the week to make that change.
Yeah, and he's that kind of coach. He's the kind of coach who's going to tell you exactly how he feels and when he feels it. When you ask a question in a press conference that he doesn't like, he'll bite you. When he thinks it's a good question, he'll tell you. When it comes to players, he'll yell at them on the field. He'll also kill them with kindness. So he is a man who wears his emotions on his sleeve. And look, there's no reason to pretend it's not there, right? I mean, they obviously know it's never been done, but this is a brand new group of Texans. Sure, they got a lot of the same players from the years past, but it's a new philosophy, new team, and definitely a team that I would say competes better than they have in the past. The Texans that made the playoffs for a couple of years were a very good team, but when you punch them in the jaw, they fell down. This team doesn't look like that kind of team. You punch them in the jaw, they're going to punch back. They just may not have enough firepower to overpower a team like the Colts.
By the way, in case you missed it, Houston knocked off Jacksonville yesterday, 27-13. The Texans have now won 3 of the last 4. Fitzpatrick, 135 yards and a TD run. Arian Foster, 127 yards yesterday and a touchdown. Linebacker J.J. Watt doing what J.J. Watt usually does, 4 tackles, 3 sacks yesterday. I didn't get to see the game at all, David. I mean, was Houston ever in doubt of winning that game, or it seemed closer than perhaps it should have been?
I wouldn't say in doubt. They were down at the half, 13-10, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, but Texans are a team that can play any team tight. I mean, you saw what happened yesterday with San Francisco and Oakland. I mean, bad teams in the NFL keep games tight. It's not like all these bad teams in the NFL lose by 30 points every weekend. Sure, they have a couple of those, but I mean, that's the thing about the Texans last year that went 2-14. They had a chance to win 6 or 7 of those games down the stretch, and Matt Schaub even threw a pick 6. You remember the game in Houston between Indy and Houston that was going Houston's way in one half, and then it collapsed in the second half. That's just the way of the NFL. Jacksonville's not a bad team. They're a much better team under Gus Bradley in the second half of seasons than we've seen in the past, and they're getting better. And I think, honestly, Blake Bortles had a really nice first half. Should the Texans have played better in the first half? No doubt. But in the second half, that game was just never in doubt. The defense made big plays. And when Arian Foster rushes for 120, 150 yards, whatever it may be, the Texans are very, I think in his career, when he rushes for over 120, it's like lost once or twice. It's a ridiculous number. So when they're able to give him the rock, they are a phenomenal team.
David, Jim Sorgi here. You talk about Arian Foster, and obviously he had a really big game against the Colts earlier in the season. That will probably be the number one focus for the Colts defense this week, is stopping Arian Foster, and in large part due to Andre Johnson's injury yesterday, his concussion. Now, we've seen players get concussions, be out 3-4 weeks. We've seen players get concussions, play the next week. Did this look like a concussion where he's going to miss a lot of time, if any?
I would say when I first saw it and the first feeling of watching his body language afterwards, I thought he was going to be out for a while. But then today I found out that he is scheduled for an appearance tomorrow morning in Houston at a local store, and he's still planning on going. So the fact that he's still going to be doing business as usual makes me feel he's a little bit more ready. I don't know if Bill O'Brien's going to tell us on Wednesday he's good to go. Bill will stretch it to the very end. But I would say that there's a chance he plays. Knowing Andre Johnson, knowing how big this game is. But, of course, the Texans will follow the concussion protocol. It's going to completely depend on what happens with that. But if Dre can play, he's going to play. He's not the same Andre Johnson you guys are used to seeing, but he's not bad. He always, even with the season that DeAndre Hopkins has had, even with the season that he's had, you can tell that he is he's always getting the best cornerback out there, making the cover him. So that's a big part of what you're seeing.
Again, we're chatting up David Nuno from our ABC station down there in Houston. KTRK does a great job covering the Houston Texans. What is it like, David, to cover J.J. Watt? I mean, here's a guy who is all in and does a heck of a job. I remember, when the Colts played down there on Thursday night, the TV broadcast going into it is all about J.J. Watt. Watt this, Watt that. I'm thinking, okay, enough of this guy. And sure enough, he has an incredible game. And you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe he is pretty good. What's it like down there in Houston? I'm guessing the entire city is wrapped their arms around this guy.
J.J. Watt's like a superhero. I mean, yesterday he used the term brother, like Hulk Hogan. Like, he came across as a wrestler. Here's the thing about J.J. I think we've all had a little J.J. fatigue, and we're all back on the J.J. bandwagon, if that makes any sense. Because he's on every commercial, he's interviewed, he's, kissing puppies, he's doing everything. Like, he does everything right. It's like, this can't be true. But then you watch the production on the field. You talk to him after games. You talk to him at practice. This guy is the real deal. Like, you want to find a flaw, and I know he's got him. Nobody's perfect, but he is just he's the, I think, the player that I've covered in my career that gets it the most. When I say gets it, he gets it in the locker room. He gets it on the field. He gets it with his PR. He just gets it. The guy doesn't go out and party like a lot of the players. He watches high school football on Friday nights and goes home. That's the kind of guy he is. He buys his mom a car. Who doesn't do that? Well, he does it. I mean, he does everything you want to do right. And yes, the entire city is all about JJ, because I feel like, we expect every season to be very good for JJ Watt. He is the top 2-3 defensive players in the league, if not number one, right? But what he has done this year is, like, every single week, especially the last 7, it's like another week where he's like, now he had 3 sacks. Last week he had a touchdown and a recovered fumble. And every week he's redefining his numbers. And I think it's going to be a long shot for him to get the MVP. But if the Texans make the playoffs, or if they're a 9-win team, I mean, he has to be in the top 3 conversation.
Are they using him too much? I saw a thing where he was mic'd up against the Titans a couple weeks ago. He forces a fumble. He picks up the fumble. He gets tackled. He's over at the sidelines. The very next thing he's going to sit down. He has to pop up, put his helmet on, go in, run an offensive play. He catches a touchdown. He runs back off the field. He's got to go back out there for defense. I mean, is he thriving on this? Is this what he wants to do, or is this the team just saying, hey, we need to put our playmaker on the field, even if he is a defensive end?
It's only too much if something bad happens. If nothing bad happens and he wins the MVP, it was all worth it. I mean, it really comes down to that. Like, I mean, he wants to be out there. He reminds me of us guys when we were kids playing, football in front of our house, and we wanted to play both ways. And when we were in little, that's who he reminds me of. He just wants to play football. He wants to make plays. And the thing is, he can. Yesterday they brought him in for one offensive snap, and he went in motion, basically as a decoy, so Arian Foster could switch to the left.
Motion.
It didn't end up working. Yeah, but he's there. He's doing it, and you have to pay attention because he's not going to drop the pass. This guy, I see him at practice with the ball jugs, and he's catching it with one hand, left and right. I mean, he's the real deal, and not to overdo the point about being JJ fatigue and not, but he is. I mean, we're right back on it because we would love to see him get that MVP because we really think without J.J. Watt, the Texans' defense is not very good, guys. I know it feels like they're good. They create a lot of turnovers, which is phenomenal, but they're like 27th in the league in points. They're terrible at stopping the pass, but they get big plays. They're opportunistic, and J.J. Watt is putting so much pressure on the quarterback that it makes everybody around him better.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into my next question. I like to ask every week, what are some areas that they've gotten better at? I mean, since the last time we played them, where are some problem areas you think for the Colts that the Texans can take advantage of offensively and defensively?
But the Texans have gotten better at the quarterback spot. Ryan Fitzpatrick is much more in command of this offense. And since the Colts played them, Ryan Mallett became the starter. Ryan Fitzpatrick took a step back, and Ryan Mallett played lights out for a game that got hurt the next game. Those couple of weeks where Ryan Fitzpatrick had to sit out, the bye week included, I think it was a month altogether, where he comes in and he just has a different confidence and swagger to him. And I hate using the word swagger because that's what the kids use, but he does. I mean, he really, I feel like he feels like he belongs now. He's always, the quarterback that, if you're not Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, the quarterback's always going to get hated on, right? I mean, it is what it is. And this guy has gotten some bad treatment throughout the years. And he is who he is. He knows who he is. The difference now for him is he can throw it down the field a little bit more than he did before. His balls aren't pretty, but he is using DeAndre Hopkins a little bit deeper than he had before. And I think that's really an area where they've improved. And also Brian Cushing, I think, isn't the old Brian Cushing, but he has improved. He had a game in Pittsburgh where he looked like my grandmother running out there. He was so slow, that Monday night game. But he took a couple weeks off. He came back, and he's starting to be productive. And he's kind of the brains of that defense. When he's on, it seems like everybody else is on. So those are two areas where I've certainly seen the Texans take a step up.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens at 1 o'clock at Lucas Oil Stadium this coming Sunday. Again, Colts and Texans with the AFC South Division Championship on the line for the Colts. anyway, David Nuno from KTRK joining us. Thanks a lot, David. Let us know if we can help out at all this week, and certainly this weekend when the game rolls around at 1 o'clock.
Certainly appreciate it, guys. Looking forward to the game.
All right. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. I tell you what, it sounds to me like Houston is fired up for this game.
Yeah, I mean, they should be.
Can the Colts match that on Sunday?
I think because of what the Colts are playing for as well. I think because you're playing to win the AFC South with 2 games remaining, yes. Because you kind of look at both these teams, the meat of the rest of the schedule is this week and next week. I mean, we have Houston to go to Dallas. They have us and then play the Ravens. So a lot is riding on that, and they still have a shot at making a wild card. I mean, you got a couple teams ahead of them at 8-5, and they're sitting at 7-6. But if they can go ahead and knock off one of those teams, knock us off, knock the Ravens off, and then play the Jaguars, I mean, they can finish with a 10-win season. And you got the Bengals and the Ravens and all those teams fighting, San Diego Chargers fighting for a wild card spot. They all got to play division games against tough opponents. I could see them kind of, losing a couple games, only winning one, and then it's being in that 9-7, 10-6 range, and maybe Houston grabbing a wild card spot, but it'll be tough. But I'd rather us take this game and win it just like we always do against Houston at home, and win the AFC South, and then get that monkey off our back to where we can just kind of go out there and relax the last 2 weeks.
Crazy stat, Colts are 12-0 at home against Houston. Even Dan Orlovsky got a win against these guys. When Houston came in, they had a good 13-2 or 1 record at that point. And
that was one of
our
knocked
them off.
2 wins right that year.
Yeah, that year, exactly, yeah. So anyway, so you like the Colts Sunday?
I do like the Colts. I just think that, history's on our side. We play the Texans really well at home, and I don't think this week will be any different. I think the Colts, winning the way they did, will learn from their mistakes, go back to the film room, and if you just do not turn the ball over offensively, I don't think they'll be able to move the ball on our defense.
But they've turned it over all year long. That's something they've got to clean up. It just seems like
it's been a lot more in the first quarter the last 4 weeks. It's 2 here, 3 here, 2 here, 2 here. And a better team in Cleveland than we played the last couple of the weeks previous, and we got ourselves in a hole, and it was almost too big of a hole to climb out of.
I like the Colts Sunday too, but there's stuff to work on this week. There's no doubt about it.
On.
Nice job.
Thanks, man.
Week 14 in the books. Our thanks to Brad Brown, David Nuno from KTRK as well. Again, we're here every Monday at 12:30, Week 14 of Horseplay. We'll see you back here next Monday as well, Week 15, hopefully talking about a Colts win over the Houston Texans, 13-0. Why not? They won their first 12. Let's make it 13. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next Monday. Colts coverage continues on RTV6 News at 5.